Hello, you cool cats and kittens. It's Carol Baskin, and you are listening to Fascination Street.
I believe that everybody has a story, and I'm fascinated to hear them. So come with me as we take a walk down Fascination Street. Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Chris Gronkowski. Chris is a former professional football player for the National Football League. He played 4 seasons for 3 teams, and also he's one of the Gronkowskis. Everybody knows them. He's the middle of 5 brothers, and we talk about everything from where they grew up to why the focus on sports. We talk a little bit about his time as a football player and what those years meant to him. And then we talk about the 3 businesses he has started outside of football. I also recommend that if you are a business person or an entrepreneur or just somebody who wants to know how to get their motor going and keep that engine running to be creative and successful, check out Chris's podcast called Gronk'd Up. GRONK''DUP. It's available everywhere, and if you are going to do that, start with the very first 4 episodes, which is what I did, and I love his show. It's really, really great. This was recorded during all the self-distancing due to the coronavirus outbreak, so if that is over by now, woohoo! If not, damn it. But either way, this is my conversation with former pro football player and successful entrepreneur, Chris Gronkowski.
Yeah, talk to me, yeah.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Chris Gronkowski. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, what's going on, man? You know, I'm a little cold here in Texas, but so are you, so it's all good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the big D stands for deep freeze this week.
Yeah, I know, man. Who would have thought?
I don't know if you're ready, but are you ready to get Gronk'd up?
Man, I've been ready, man. I've been getting Gronk'd up my whole life. I'm ready to keep it going.
All right. Well, Chris, I like to start with asking people where they're from and kind of how they were born and raised. It sort of helps us understand the path from how they got to where they were to where they are. So if you don't mind, where were you born and raised, Chris?
For sure, man. Born and raised Buffalo, New York.
It's cold there.
It's cold. You know, it feels a little colder once you move to Dallas and it gets cold here. But, it was cool, though. You know, growing up, 5 boys in the household. You know, I had 4 brothers, and I was the middle of the 5. So it was crazy. It was reckless. We didn't have furniture because it was all broken. We had the most basic house you've ever seen because we just used everything as a weapon. And man, it bred competition. You know, we were the house where everyone came over. You know, so we had multiple friends over all the time. We were always competing in sports and anything you could think of. We somehow made a game out of it. Yeah, it was just a fun upbringing. We had the neighborhood where it was just like all kids. Somehow it was just like all these kids everywhere, and you walk through their backyards and you start a game up in someone else's yard, and man, it was cool. Like, you don't even think about that stuff anymore today, but I don't think our parents knew where we were half the time, but we just enjoyed it, man. We were just outside and just always doing something active.
Remember those days when your parents didn't need to know where you were every 15 seconds?
Yeah, you didn't have a cell phone and you just came home when it got dark out.
That's right. Hey, as long as you're home by when the street lights come on, I don't give a shit. Just don't have the police call me.
Exactly.
You grew up in Buffalo, you and your other 4 brothers, and you said there was a whole bunch of kids in your neighborhood?
All kinds, man. Yeah, we had a great neighborhood.
I'm just assuming that Buffalo is so freaking cold that there's nothing else to do except make babies up there.
And party. We're pretty good at that too. No, I mean, it gets nice in the summer. Of course, we grew up playing hockey and then we played baseball in the summer. And those were the sports, man. That's what you do in Buffalo. And you eat a lot of chicken wings. You call them chicken wings when you're from Buffalo. You don't call them buffalo wings.
That makes sense. So why sports? I mean, all of you, you're all giant dudes. You're all, who's the smallest one?
I'm the smallest, man.
Are you really?
Yeah, I'm 6'2". I played at about 245 pounds. But yeah, I'm smallest, shortest in the family. And
6'2" is the shortest in the family?
Shortest in our family, yeah. So I'm the little guy.
How tall is your mom?
She's about, I think, like 5'7", so not tall.
And what about dad?
My dad's about 6'3". So he's taller. But yeah, my brothers are just, man, they're freaks. They're like 6'6", and Rob's almost 6'7".
Well, I'm glad you said they're freaks because they can't do it. Well, they could probably beat your ass too, but they won't. So.
Yeah. Good battles growing up.
I bet you did.
Sports just came about just from putting 5 boys in a room together. It just naturally happened. My mom refused to let us sit there and watch TV all day or play video games. It was always get outside. Just get outside and do something. Get that energy out. Go in the basement, go play. And that just turned into competition.
That's awesome. I think I heard once, it might even have been your dad that said it, I'm not sure, but nobody had their own room. There was just bunk beds like in every room or something like that. Y'all just, wherever y'all fell down and crashed is where y'all slept?
Yeah, so we have bunk beds. 5 boys, and we had 3 bedrooms. But, the baby always had their own room. So, the baby would have one room, and then the brothers would split with bunk beds. So when I finally got my own room, I thought it'd be so cool having my own room. But then it wasn't that cool, man. Like, you're so used to...
You got all lonely and shit?
Yeah, man. So, just messing with each other, talking crap at night or whatever it was, man. You got so used to it that then when you were by yourself, it was almost like, this is weird.
So you guys grew up in, I guess, sports just because sports is sports. And I guess chicken wings is what made y'all all monsters. Monster specimens, not actual monsters. But what did your dad do? Was he into sports? I mean, I'm sure that Buffalo's a real sports town with the Sabres and the Bills and whatnot. But was your dad into sports? Did he play any?
Yeah, for sure. So he played college football. University of Syracuse. He coached all of our teams. He was our coach. It was awesome. He was the guy that just wanted to make sure that everyone played. Like, he was out there to teach the game, not just play us because we were the best players. So, everyone pitched, everyone played first base, everyone played shortstop. On the hockey team, everyone played center, and he made sure that everyone knew the fundamentals of the game. And I still remember him watching the tapes. He'd pull out the tapes on how to actually do the drills correctly, the old VHSs, and he put them in. And he'd sit there and actually learn the drills because he didn't know how to teach hockey or baseball, to the degree to make you great. So he learned how to do it. He was all about just trying to make everyone the best player they could be and fundamentally sound. So we always had the best teams. Every kid always played, and everyone loved being on our teams.
Now, it sounds like he was learning all these things, learning how to be a better coach in all these different sports because he loved it, not necessarily because he was trying to start his entire kids. It doesn't sound like he was trying to make his entire family a professional sports franchise. Did he do it just out of the love of coaching and out of the love of sports?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely wasn't a thing where it was, you better play sports or, you're disowned or anything like that. And we weren't even forced to play. Everyone thought we were this football family because we all became successful in football. My older brother, Gordy, never played. My dad didn't even ask us if we wanted to play. My older brother, Dan, decided to because he was an absolute monster in high school and was almost forced to by everyone else in school to, that forced him to kind of come out and play football. But, it wasn't something where it was, hey, you guys are playing sports, you're playing football because I did, and you need to get a scholarship or anything like that. It was just the love of the game and the love that we had for it. And he just helped us get better.
So what was the plan? If your parents weren't driving you towards sports, was there a plan? Did they just want you to go to college and do anything? Or what did they want for all of you to be when you grew up?
They just wanted us to earn whatever we had was what it came down to. My dad said, if you want to go to college, great. You're paying for it though. And if you want to go free, great. Get a scholarship. So it was always on us to put the work in to get what we wanted. He'd always help us get there if we wanted to get there. But if we didn't, that was fine too. If you don't want to do the work, if you don't want to go in the basement and work out with the tools that he gave us, that's fine too. He wouldn't argue against it. But if we were going to do it, we had to go all in and we weren't allowed to quit.
So you mentioned a basement. Your whole basement was a gym?
Yeah. So he started his own fitness equipment company.
Why?
It all came about because he had great equipment when he was at Syracuse, and he came back and he wanted to use that same equipment and then also wanted us to have quality equipment. And he had to drive to the state of New Jersey to get something that was actually quality that wouldn't, break down within the year. And it was the same quality that he was using at the highest level in college. So he wanted Olympic bars and he wanted good, solid squat platforms, and he just couldn't get it. Back then it was like the Sears or J.C. Penney's was selling the equipment.
Joe Weider's weight set.
It was just, it wasn't high quality stuff. So he started it just because he wanted it for himself and he wanted it for us. And he realized there's an opportunity there. So worked 2 jobs for 6 years getting this thing started. And, it was cool to see, but he's now the second largest distributor in the U.S. of fitness equipment.
Oh, no kidding. That's fantastic.
35 years later.
When I was growing up, the only weights I ever saw were plastic filled with cement, you know?
Yeah.
I don't even remember who made those or whatever, but those, and the bar was just like a stainless steel painted black. It was all pretty shitty, and you can't tell by looking, but I don't work out. So, and I'm just going to blame it was faulty equipment. I was like, I'm going to break it because I'm all that. So, man, I should have grew up in Buffalo, man.
Yeah, you would have had the weight set. That's for sure.
So what did you want to be when you grew up? It's so hard, I guess, to answer that question, maybe because you guys played sports your entire life, but it's not realistic. And it sounds like you guys were pretty grounded as far as your upbringing. What did you want to be? Because it's not realistic for you to just be like, you know what, I'm going to go play pro ball.
Yeah, no, that wasn't how it was at all, at least not for me. You know, the chances of making it to pros are, they say 1 in a million or more. I wasn't even the best in my own family. I wasn't even the second best in my own family. So, you know, I got a late last minute scholarship offer, and, you know, I didn't even think I would get that. So I didn't think it was in the cards for me. My goal was really just to get to college and get the best degree that I possibly could, and then use that to make the most money I possibly could. And at that time, I was really good with numbers. My SAT, I missed one question on the math section. I was accepted into the Wharton Business School, the University of Penn, which is a huge accomplishment. And I ended up walking away from that for a full scholarship to Maryland at the last minute. But, you know, to me, it was, you know, let's do something with this. You know, numbers came easy. I ended up getting an accounting degree from the business school, thinking, you know, at the very least, I could walk out of here with all my extra credits that I had to get from football, because you have to stay there for summer and all that as well. So you leave school with a bunch of extra credits, and I could go take my certified public accounting course and pass the test and at least come out of college with a high paying job was kind of the game plan at that point.
And the opportunities galore, because nobody wants to be a numbers person. So forgive me for saying this, but this can't be news to you. People don't often view football players and super athletes as real numbers people. How hard is it for you to be taken seriously, you know, as a numbers guy? I know that for a while, I think you were helping some of your teammates with their taxes and stuff like that. But how hard was it for you to be taken seriously?
It's funny because as an NFL player, I get in a lot of doors, right? Especially having, you know, a brother who's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Oh, which one is that?
Glenn. No.
Oh, man. Cool. Yeah. That's cool. I get it.
Oh, man. I'm able to get in, right? And I tell other players this too. You can get in, but you know, you still have to show up once you get there, and you have to have something that's impressive. You know, everyone wants to meet you, but they don't want to do business with you unless you come with a great presentation. And that's harder. You can open that door, but like you said, they're doing it just to meet you and just to tell people that they met you and stuff like that. But you know, when you show up and you know the numbers, you know, all of a sudden you're able to impress them. And that's when things change. I can tell a lot of times I'll get into these meetings and they're not really expecting anything out of me. You know, they're expecting a great story, and that's pretty much it. So it hurts you until they know you. And it's something where you get branded. You either be branded or tell your story. So you almost get branded as this guy who just got lucky, or he has a great family name that's pushing the product for him. So you got to get in there. You got to tell your story. You got to let them know that you know what you're doing and that you built a great company because of what you did, not because of the name or reputation behind the family.
You touched on a couple of times talking about building a great company, and we're going to get to Finn Friends in just a minute. But but I do have a question. And again, this is going to sound a little weird, but all 5 of you are great athletes. 4 of you played pro ball, right? Pro football.
Yeah.
One of you is highest tier, unbelievably successful in every measurable way. Having such a unique and famous last name, is there any, I don't know, like, I know you said it's all competition and friendly and y'all all love each other, but is there any part where you're just like, when you meet somebody, they're like, Gronkowski, and you're like, no, the other one? You know what I mean? Like, how is that having to carry that name, how is it getting to carry that name?
Yeah, man. I mean, that happens all the time where, you know, people just assume that I'm an all pro tight end, which, you know, when you meet me and you know football, you would know I'm about 5 inches too short to play that position. But no, it definitely comes up. Yeah, I tell people all the time, I get so much benefit out of it. You know, it's almost like I get all the benefits without having to get killed anymore on the field. So, I mean, it's the greatest thing ever for me. You know, growing up, if this was a situation when we were younger and he was getting all the glory, we would have been fighting every day and we would have hated each other. But, you know, to me, what happens too, as you get older, we became closer and we went through the tough times together. So it wasn't like I didn't do it. You know, I did it as well. I got to the NFL. I played 4 years. once you go through that grind and that struggle and you know how hard it is to truly be where he is, you have so much respect for it. To play 10 years is insane. I couldn't even imagine playing after 5. Just
because it's so hard. It's like Absolutely. So physically demanding.
And mentally as well. I mean, I know people don't see that side of it and they say it's just a game, but it's a job, and it's the hardest job in the world, and it's the most stressful job at certain times. I mean, I know there's some crazy, crazy jobs out there, but there's very few where you make one bad play and, millions of people are telling you you suck and die and you're the worst player I've ever seen. So there's a lot of stress there, even on great players, and people just don't see that side of it.
I don't know about everybody else, but even if I did think that about a player who was, I don't know, 6'2", 245, I certainly wouldn't fucking say it.
Most people will say it over the internet. They won't say it to your face, but on the internet, they'll say anything. It's unheard of what people will say on the internet. I mean, it comes with the job and the territory, and you just have to ignore it and move on. But people get a lot of courage behind the computer screen.
It's like the Wizard of Oz behind that curtain. He could do anything he wanted to behind that little curtain.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about when you did get drafted. When you did go into the NFL, you didn't get drafted on draft day, right?
Correct. Yeah. Undrafted.
Tell us about how that works. I know that you had really, really great grades, but that's not why you got a scholarship. You got an athletic scholarship. I want to know about draft day. Like, did you think you were going to go? Did you think you were going to go high, low, at all?
Yeah, so draft day, it was something where I might have went late in the draft. They predict anything from 5th round to undrafted. And so I had a couple calls during it. You get excited when a team calls you in the 5th round. You're like, oh, here we go. I'm about to get drafted. And, they were calling about signing me as a preferred free agent. Still had a chance late 7th round. But at the end of the day, the best thing that could have happened for me was going undrafted because it gave me the ability to pick what team I wanted to go to.
Well, what do you mean? How does that work?
So once the draft ends, multiple teams are going to call you and they're going to try to sign you if you're worth it. If you're not going to get any calls. It's considered kind of like a preferred free agent. So you're kind of the best that's left, and teams love to sign you because they don't have to pay anything. Very, very small signing bonus to sign an undrafted free agent. I signed for $10,000. So to a team, that's nothing. They want to pick up as many as they can because they need camp bodies or they just want to get lucky. Every once in a while, these guys end up being someone that's pretty good. So you hear about undrafted free agents play 10, 15 years in the league sometimes. So they reached out, and at that point, probably could have signed with pretty much any team I wanted to at that point because I'm like this free guy for them. So why it's great is my agent, if he does a good job, he knows where the best opportunity is for me. Compared to if I went in the 7th round, what teams do is they draft for value in the 7th round for the most part. So they say, hey, this is the best player left. He's the most talented according to our scouts and our scouting department. Let's pick him up, even though we don't need a fullback, even though we probably won't use this guy in the next 3 years. Let's pick him up anyways. And if he's pretty good, maybe we put him on practice squad, or maybe we could trade him for some value. Who knows? Or maybe our fullback gets hurt in camp and we need him. So sometimes you get in a situation like that where you get drafted, you get all excited about it, but then you're stuck behind all these players and they don't actually want you. They just draft you because you're the best player left. So going undrafted gave me the opportunity to then sort through 6 or 7 teams that really wanted me and put myself in the best position to make a team.
I feel like part of your story is that you have this work ethic and this like unyielding desire to prove that you're good at whatever it is that you're doing, that you want to be the best at it. So did going undrafted give you the ball and, so to speak, as like, okay, cool. So now I get to pick which team I can show how good I am, which team I can prove myself to?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I always had the underdog mentality. I guess when you're the shortest, the smallest in the family, you don't get any scholarship offers. And then you go undrafted, you have a lot to prove. That's how it always was for me. I knew it would be hard work. My dad told me from day one, if you want to get to that next level, you better separate yourself in the weight room with your speed, whatever you can do, because your physical size isn't the same. So yeah, man, it was always a grind for me. And the best motivation you could ever have is being the first brother in your family to not get drafted. For me, there was no other options. I had zero option but to make that team in my mind, because I knew the rest of my life I would hear about it if I didn't make that team. I would hear, your whole family played, your whole family got drafted. What happened to you? And I wasn't going to be that guy. So, man, if you want mindset, if you want no other options, if you want to put everything on the line, it's hard to get there mentally, but I got there because of all that. So it put me in a situation where I had to succeed, and I did because of that.
So what team did you choose to prove yourself to?
So I ended up going, and it wasn't even really my choice at all. It was 3 minutes after the draft, I would say, ended. My agent pretty much, he already knew before the draft even ended where I was going to sign. So he called me and just said, hey, you're signing with the Dallas Cowboys. And I didn't even ask why. I just said, all right, I'm signing with the Cowboys. Let's do it. Found out later kind of why, the reasonings and all that, but he put me in a really good position to succeed.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
This is Alan Bishop, head alchemist at Spirits of French Lake Distillery. We're glad to introduce to you our newest bottled and bond bourbons, the Lee W. Sinclair 4-grain bourbon and the Matty Gladden High Rye bourbon. As always, these two bourbons are deeply rooted in the history of our location in the Black Forest of southern Indiana. Always double pot distilled, never chill filtered, made using the finest grains, alternative and historic yeast strains that we propagate ourselves, and the methodology that once made southern Indiana an epicenter of American distilling. Matured gracefully in 53-gallon No. 2 char, new American oak barrels, using a low 105 entry proof. The Lee Sinclair presents an oak-forward profile, which pushes forward the definition and conversation about bourbon possibilities, while the Matty Gladden graces us and demonstrates respect with her 35% rye mash bill. It's not just the spirits in the bottle, it's the spirits of the place. Respect the grain and drink responsibly.
Let's get back into it.
There's only, 32, 33 teams? So there's not a whole lot of cities that have a team. And some cities have 2, but most cities have 0. But you came from a city that has a professional football team. Why didn't you want to play for them?
Man.
It's fucking cold, man.
Because they didn't want my ass. That's why. It's crazy because what teams can do, they get official visits, right? And most teams will bring in as many guys as they can, but they're limited. So they have to choose what players they can bring in for a visit, and they can really dig deep on them and test them and ask them questions and do physicals and all that. The one exception to this rule is that you can bring in as many players as you want if they went to high school in your area. So the Bills had the option to bring in all of us on a free visit. You hear some cool stories about this, like Minnesota with Adam Thielen. They brought him in, he's I think a D3 player, and he's a local guy. So they brought him in just because he's local. It didn't count against their number of visits. And this is what teams do. Dallas did it as well. We had a couple guys that went to these tryouts or came in and, ended up being in camp with us. And one of them made the team as well. But Buffalo didn't do that, man. They didn't do it with me. They didn't do it with my older brother, Dan, either. So it was kind of crazy because they had these free visits and they didn't even use them on us. So, yeah, there's just no interest in bringing us in. And then even down to Rob, most people don't realize this and they call him a traitor and all this stuff, but the Bills had the pick before.
Who calls him a traitor?
Everyone from Buffalo that's mad that he beat them every year.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Every time we went to a game in Buffalo, everyone would just be like, hey, traitors, blah, blah, blah. They throw beers at us, all that. At the end of the day, the Bills picked a D tackle the pick before Rob got drafted. So he went 41st, I think. They had the 40th overall pick and they took a D tackle. So they passed up on him the pick before he went.
So it's not even his fault. Why is he a traitor?
Not his fault. You have no control where you go unless you're undrafted. So, yeah, he's a traitor because he's got 3 Super Bowl rings in New England.
So it's just like all the people in New England are mad because him and Tom went to Tampa. It wasn't really their choice. I mean, Rob was retired.
He gets called a traitor for that now as well. And
sure.
Didn't know as well as they actually traded him the year before to Detroit. So he was going to retire if that trade went through, and he stopped the trade by telling him, I'm going to retire if you put it through. So, he stopped. They ended up winning, a Super Bowl the next year with him, but they actually legitimately traded him the year before that, and he had to force that to stop.
Wow, that's crazy. So we talked a little bit about high school and how local NFL teams are allowed to sort of have unlimited local high school visits. Did you all go to the same high school?
So we all went to the same high school, and then Rob went to high school for 1 year in Pittsburgh.
At Woodland Hills?
Woodland Hills. Woody High, baby.
Why just him and why just 1 year? Because he's not the youngest, right?
No, second youngest. Yeah, he was a little crazy, and there's definitely a lot of jealousy in Buffalo. And he got into some trouble, and they suspended him for a bunch of games. So to get out of
for real? Oh, okay.
Ended up going to Woody High for a year.
Woody. What made your dad pick Woody High?
he had a bunch of stores there, and they had a great program. And he went in there and talked to the coaches, and just felt really comfortable being there, and thought it would give Rob a really good opportunity to get ready for college.
To actually like put the screws on and stop fucking around.
Yeah, I mean, the quality of football was so much better there, and serious. They took it serious, and they played some really good teams. So I just thought it would be a great experience for him to get ready for the next level.
So speaking of Woodland Hills High School, we have a mutual friend, Joe Lafferty. He was one of the coaches, one of the football coaches at Woodland Hills, and he was one of the coaches that helped coach Rob. And including Rob, I think he coached or helped coach like 15 players into the NFL out of one high school. That is insane. Obviously, I know how you know Joe because he coached your brother, but what about Joe makes you still keep in contact with him? I think he's a great guy. He's been on here. He has a phenomenal story. What about Joe makes you want to keep in contact with that dude?
Yeah, man. He's been on the podcast. He beat me on the podcast already.
Oh, yeah. He told his whole story, man. He did a 2-parter. It was about 2.5 hours long. It was great.
Oh, so I don't even think I've heard the full story yet. So I'm going to have to go back and listen to that. But,
definitely. It's a good one, man.
We show up at the Wolverina, right? Joe's he's there, immediately to introduce, himself. And he cares is what it comes down to. He cares about each and every player. He cares about how he can help them, not just in football, but in life, man. And he follows through with them all the way through. So I'm sure he probably talks to all of his players, but, he even reaches out to me to make sure I'm all right, during a storm in Dallas and stuff like that. So that's why we still keep in contact, because he's way more than just this coach. He cares about guys and wants to help them throughout their entire life in everything that they do.
Super good, dude. I really, really like that guy. What 3 teams did you play for? You played 4 years, 3 teams, right?
Yep. Actually played for the Dallas Cowboys, Indianapolis Colts, and the Broncos, and then went into camp my 4th year with the Chargers and got hurt in camp.
Now, there's some magic number that gets you, I don't know, like a pension or something, right? Is it 3?
3 credited seasons, yep.
And so you were able to hit that bar?
Yeah, I was able to get 4 credited, but yeah, that's huge, man. Absolutely huge. And something I never thought I'd accomplish, but you get the pension. I always put money into 401k as well. You get the health.
Because you're a numbers guy, man. You knew to do that.
And I'll tell you what, it's looking real good right now. And I'm only 34 right now, but the NFL has done a great job of putting these programs in place, and they would double match us as well. So I don't know what it was then, but I think I was putting like $12,000 or $14,000 in, and they double that and they match it. So
wow,
great way.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely. And what's crazy is some guys wouldn't do it, but I did, of course, as much as I could. It's been impressive what they've done for players. And, there's a lot of stats out there about guys going bankrupt after a couple of years, and it shouldn't happen, because they are doing a great job of education and helping out afterwards and giving us the resources to be successful after football.
You don't ever hear that. All you ever hear is that, the NFL just left all these dudes sort of helpless and hopeless.
Yeah, man, this is how I tell people about it. You make a lot in a very short period of time, but it's not that short period of time. You actually have been training pretty much as a free intern for about 15 years, from high school all the way through college, until you finally got your chance at the pros, which you might never get. So, once guys leave, the problem is they don't look at it like that. They're not willing to then put all that work in again in a second career. They feel like they're kind of, they just deserve to get paid a lot of money, and you don't have any skills. All you know is football. So you have to look at it as, rebuilding again, as, you did in the first place, and put that same amount of effort in, and you'll be successful off the field as well. But yeah, you don't hear about it because that's not the stories the media likes to tell. They like to tell the stories about guys going bankrupt and spending all their money, but the resources are there. Guys they're not using them, or they just don't want to put the work in like they did to get to the NFL. They put that same work ethic in, they would crush it off the field too.
That makes sense. There's a local basketball team here called the San Antonio Spurs. They used to have a player who helped them win their first championship. His name is David Robinson, the Admiral. And after his super successful NBA career, he became like a finance dude. You see him driving around town like he still lives here, but I don't know if he runs the firm or whatever, but he's a high-ranking financial advisor at this firm. So I think that the people who know that they have to work their ass off in their second career and actually do it. I think that, you're right. I think they're hugely successful. And on that, let's talk about you, man. You decided after football that you weren't just going to roll around and wait for your giant 401k to pay off. You got busy. Tell me about Fin Friends.
Man, that's so funny. I don't know. I think I had the entrepreneur spirit ever since my dad and growing up in that business. But I was doing everything to make money. I was playing, online poker in college, even in the middle class, just to make some extra cash. But yeah, my wife worked at PetSmart, back in the day, and girlfriend at the time, but just saw an opportunity. I actually was breeding fish at one point and selling them, man. It was crazy. I was making a lot of money doing that in college too. When I was doing that, there was no way to divide the fish, and there was some stuff out there, but it was garbage. So I realized that a lot of people were doing do-it-yourself stuff. So I saw an opportunity, because with anything that's do-it-yourself, there's always a more convenient way to do it and then make some money off of it. So created a product that did that. It was a divider for an aquarium and got a patent on it. Had no clue what I was doing, but did, and then I was able to sell this product, and I didn't put a ton of effort into it, and I could probably do a lot better job, but it makes some good money for me just selling through Amazon. It ended up being close to a 6-figure product where all I do is ship it to them at this point. That was it. So that was kind of my first experience with entrepreneurship. And
so Fin Friends is still a company, right? It's still pretty. Going, it's almost set it and forget it at this point, but it's still a company, right?
Yeah, it's still going. It's still a company. It does well. It's like you said, set it and forget it. It's such a niche market that I don't think I'll ever have competition. I just let it chill. I don't have to pay for ads. It's kind of just has its spot organically on Amazon, and it just does its thing.
If I know my Aquarium Divider stats, I'm pretty sure that is the best-selling Aquarium Divider on Amazon, right?
Yeah, it should still be. It should have like the little box over it too, saying it.
That's hilarious. But that wasn't enough. Your wife was doing some custom things for the wedding industry, right? Tell me about everything decorated.
It has a crazy story too. So it was my third year, right, in the NFL, and she's going around and getting a job at every city I go to. It's the fourth time we moved in 3 years.
That's got to be rough for her, man. To follow your ass all over the country and then go find a job, that can't be easy or fun. So good for you for being nice to her or whatever you're doing that she stuck around.
Yeah, man. So at that point, she's like, I'm going to find a way to work from home. So I was like, all right, as long as you're doing something,
There goes that being nice to her thing. You're like, you better do something.
I call it a disease, man. Boredom's a disease. When you sit at home and do nothing, only bad things happen, man. You think of the worst ideas. I mean, it's just a disaster. So, I just wanted to do something. It didn't have to make a lot of money, but it had to be something, even if it was a hobby. I think everyone needs something. Just sit around doing nothing it's always turns out very
That's why
bad.
I started this podcast. My wife was working Monday through Friday in different states, and she was, making so much money. I didn't really need to work or anything. We had just moved back here from being in another state, and I was deciding to start because I have a window washing business. And so I was getting ready to start that back up. And, it was kind of slow going at the beginning, reaching out to all my previous customers and all that. And then I decided to go ahead and start this podcast because there was never going to be a better time. I had all this free time during the week. My wife was sleeping in another state, so I could stay up and work on this podcast until the wee hours if I needed to get it off the ground. And it was really out of that, like you said, that boredom, it just creates so many bad problems. And so it started out as a hobby and now it's not. But so I'm right there with you. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, man. One of my worst problems is just eating. Yeah. If I get too bored, all I do is sit there and eat, man. A lot of bad things happen, though. Mindset, everything I feel like changes when you have nothing to do or nothing to strive towards, nothing to really challenge yourself. So, I wanted her to have a job or do something at least. And so she had a gift from her aunt, and it was a hand-painted wine glass, and she thought it was really cool and thought there was an opportunity there to do that. So she started to. I came home, I tried to make some food in the oven, and there's these glasses in there baking. And I'm like, all right, I don't know what's going on, but there's no way this is ever going to work, but it's cool, right? She's doing something like that.
Did you think it was not going to work because it was so labor intensive?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, she had no experience with anything. So in my mind, I'm sitting there like, how's she going to build a business, off of this when she's never done it before? And like,
She didn't slap you and say, "Hey, you said it could be a hobby."
I mean, I didn't say too much, and it was what it was. So I was like, "That's cool." I mean, at least she's doing something, and it's let's see how it goes. So right away they started to sell, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty cool to see." She started her own LLC, and I'm like, "Wow, how'd you know how to do that?" But she's putting the work in, so I wasn't really questioning it. And I knew it would be something that was like, man, it takes so long, and it's going to be impossible to scale. And I thought that's kind of where it would end. Like she'd just do it kind of as a hobby and make a decent amount of money, whatever. And then, just be too much to handle and it'd probably be done with. Right. And we'd move on. But, she started to find ways to scale it, and she started changing what she was doing. She started doing vinyl instead of hand painting it. And all of a sudden I started looking into it like, wow, this is a huge opportunity here. Like this is a market that we could really crush it with. So I started putting some time into it and some effort into it, some money into it. And the next thing I know, I'm doing this all off season. And this thing is just exploding out of our house to the point where I was taking over and really saw a great opportunity there. I ended up signing with the Chargers after that. But, the whole time I was there, I'm like, if something happens, I do have something to fall back on now. Ended up getting hurt, took an injury settlement. And the next thing I know, I was pretty much working full time in this business, just grinding it out about 80 hours a week, just cranking out customized gifts.
And that also is a business that is still going, right? It's on Etsy.
Yeah, still going. Etsy website. It's mostly all B2C. Do have a couple bigger accounts. Williams Sonoma. We do some engraving for other companies as well. So it's still growing. She's still hiring. It's been fun to see.
Her company has an account with Williams Sonoma.
Yeah, she has
Holy moly.
Personalized gifts for them.
Wow, that's fantastic. And then that's not all.
Yeah,
so having these two businesses and a big fat stupid retirement coming in from the NFL, that wasn't enough. You said, you know what? I can do another thing. Tell me about Ice Shaker.
For sure, man. For sure. So really, we're about 5 years into my wife's business, and it was crushing. I didn't need to do anything else, but at the end of the day, it was her passion. It wasn't mine. I didn't even tell people what I was doing. It wasn't like I was like using my NFL connections to grow this business or anything. I wouldn't tell anyone. People would ask and be like, "Oh, I'm just doing my own thing," because to me, it was just like almost embarrassing that I was making wedding gifts for a living now after being like this macho football player. So didn't really tell anyone what I was doing. And then, loved the competition and loved, figuring out new ways to make it better and grow it and all that. But at the end of the day, I wanted to be in the health and fitness industry. That's what I grew up doing. That's what I grew up loving. And I was going to the gym once or twice a day, and an opportunity just came by. I realized that I hated the bottle that I was bringing to the gym. I also hated having like 3 or 4 dishes in my sink or cups in the sink at the end of the day. I'm just a simple dude. I'm like, I want one cup that I can use for everything. And I wanted to keep my drink cold too, especially here in Texas when it's 100 degrees out. So went home that day just thinking I'd go on Amazon and, snag a stainless insulated bottle or whatever it was. And there's just nothing out there. It was almost like the simplest idea no one had done yet. And at that point, I just said, hey, I'm going to use my resources I already have for my wife's business because we are sourcing product and I kind of know it a little bit. And I'm going to go make the best bottle that I can for myself.
It's called Ice Shaker, right?
Ice Shaker, yep. That's it.
So that's when Ice Shaker was born. So what sets Ice Shaker apart from a different brand? What makes Ice Shaker so special?
Yeah, I love this question, man. A couple things. So pretty much it does it all. So it's going to be a kitchen grade insulated stainless steel. We just had a third party tested. We were claiming it keeps it cold for over 30 hours. The test came back over 40 hours when we just did it. So it's going to keep your drink cold. It's not going to absorb the odor like a plastic shaker bottle does. So if you leave protein in there for a while, it's still going to smell, but you can easily rinse that smell out. Unlike a shaker bottle, a plastic one where it's just, you're done. You're throwing it in the garbage. It smells so bad. Measurement markings inside. What I really liked was it had to be easy to fill, easy to clean. I wanted to be able to dump powders in there without this little funnel or having to use a special brush to clean it. And then through the handle on it, through the measurement markings inside, the easy open pop top that I absolutely loved. The patented part of it is this twist and agitator. So it will break up powders. What it also does is it strains it as well. So when you put a bunch of ice inside of a metal cup that's insulated, it all floats to the top and then you're trying to drink it and it's not coming out very well. So this will actually strain it. So it does. And if you like to party, it does float in the pool. And that strainer works really well to pour shots too, so you don't get ice in your drinks.
Wait, it floats in the pool and it floats right side up?
Oh, absolutely. It float right next to you. So
what the hell?
Great for vacation as well. So like I said, man, it does it all. it fits into a cup holder as well. So I made sure even our bigger bottle, we have a 36 ounce, which is like pretty big. It's probably the biggest insulated bottle on the market that still fits into a cup holder. I just hated that you put like a bigger jug or bigger bottle in your car and it just smack off the dashboard all day. So we made the biggest bottle we could that would still fit into a cup holder.
Nice. Somebody told me, I think it was probably Joe, the previous mentioned Joe Lafferty. I think he told me that if you're not like a protein powder person, you can also use that agitator to infuse like fruits and citrus and stuff into your water.
Absolutely. Yes. A lot of people use it just to fruit infuse their drinks. It's great for that. And it's also silent when you shake it. A lot of those metal balls, you put a metal ball inside a metal cup, it's like the most annoying thing you ever heard in your entire life. It's
loud as shit.
Yeah, so just the fact that it's quiet, people are like, thank you. Plus, you don't lose it. Like, everyone loses the ball. This, you twist in, you could twist it out. It's super easy to clean as well because of that reason. That's huge. People love that the agitator's built in, but also twists right off. And then the last thing that really separates us as well, and Joe could tell you this too, because we've done some bottles for him, we can personalize each and every bottle. So we do a ton of companies. We're able to do a company plus a name on it as well. So everyone at the company knows which bottle is theirs. And we have a huge variety of colors and kind of crazy colors. I have a black to white fade one right here. We get crazy with the colors as well. So we have a huge variety of colors that you don't see anywhere else too. So there's so many things that separate it. And then, at the end of the day, it really all comes down to service, man. If you can provide a great service and a quality product, that's all it really is. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's the same thing with my wife's business. She's not doing anything different than anyone else could do. She's just doing it better than everybody else.
Will you hold that cup up again?
Oh, yeah. Here it is, man.
Turn it. Okay, so it does say Ice Shaker on it. Okay, cool. I couldn't see it. I was like, wait a minute. It doesn't even say, there's no branding. Okay, so.
It's right here, too.
Oh, it does say that. Nice.
Right there, the bottom.
Oh, good.
Logo on it. So it's definitely branded up.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
You know those popping phone handle things that you see on everyone's phones nowadays? Well, how would you like to put your logo on them? Does your podcast or band need new merch? Do you want to bring attention to your new book or film? Maybe you need something unique for your Patreon or crowdfunding campaign. Then visit thelogopop.com, where you can customize them with the logo of your podcast, band, business, art, school mascot, or whatever else you can think of. These are way more affordable than you may think at thelogopop.com. Mention where you heard this ad and get free shipping on your entire order. Remember, that's thelogopop.com to order your custom popping phone handles. That's thelogopop.com.
Let's get back into it.
Now, you said that y'all personalize and engrave companies and names and all that stuff. Is that engraved or is that vinyl? How do you do that?
All laser engraved at this point. The bottles last for so long and people use them in the pool and outside in the sun. And what we noticed was that anything else would eventually wear off. So the laser engraving is going to be permanent. It's going to be on there forever. It's never going to chip or fade. So we went all to laser engraving. So we used to put paint on the bottles and do it that way. Now our logo's embossed and our logo's engraved on it as well. So we don't have to worry about paint wearing off anymore.
Very cool. We're going to come back to Ice Shaker, but I just want to ask you, have you ever looked yourself up on Wikipedia?
Yeah. I've seen my name on there.
Do you know that what it says you're most known for in your football career?
What does it say about Tony Romo?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
It basically says that you're most known for missing a tackle that ended up getting Tony Romo's clavicle broken and ending his season. Is he mad at you?
I think he signed a $100 million contract after that year, and we started that year 1-5, so I think I saved him a $100 million contract.
That is the best way to look at it. I love that answer.
I love the question because no one asked me it when I was playing. At the end of the day, what ended up happening is, you go into a game with a game plan and a scouting report. And the game plan that week was, we're going to get out as fast as we can. We're going to check our guy. If he's not coming, we're going to help our brand new left tackle. We're going to help him out by chipping the end. And they had two really good DNs, so they wanted us to help out the tackles as much as possible. Our scouting report came back and said, if the linebacker is not walked up on the line, he has never blitzed the entire year. So, being a good student and studying and listening to all these things and cues, I did exactly what they told me to do. So, checked my linebacker. He wasn't coming. And I went outside and I chipped the D end. As I did, what they did was they call it a green dog. he sat, and then he came late. By the time he came, I was already outside the tackle. I was already into a route, and Romo wound up and he threw a 40-yard pass. And as he was throwing it, he got hit. So, I didn't get cut or anything like that. Everyone in the locker room knew it had nothing to do with me and that I was following what I was told to do. But the media absolutely blasted the one person they could, who was the undrafted free agent rookie. So I just sat there and took it, man. There's nothing I could do about it. I finished the season. I ended up, if you look at the actual rankings, that was the first year that the player focus came out, PFF, I think it's called, where they actually rank each and every player based on, the actual play. And I was ranked in the top 5 for fullbacks that year. So,
oh, cool.
It sucks that that's how people put a title on somebody. But anyone who truly knows the game and knows what happens and knows the sport knows, first off, guys blitz for a reason. You blitz because it works every once in a while. Freak stuff happens too. I mean, he's been hit, hundreds and hundreds of times. And the one time he gets hit is on a play that I supposedly was supposed to be blocking that guy. So it wasn't like a whiff or anything like that. It was just a situation and a scouting report where, the guy just did the right thing at the right time to get to the quarterback. And I ended up getting blamed for it.
Well, I appreciate you answering that question, and you answered it like a man. Now, let's go back to Ice Shaker real quick. You were doing pretty good with your Ice Shaker company, and you have several other companies that are, in the green, and you have your name and your contacts. Why did you even want to go on Shark Tank?
What's up, Sharks? My name is Chris. I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Yeah.
And my company is Ice Shaker. I'm here seeking $100,000 for 10% ownership in my company. Sharks, as you can tell, I work out. Growing up in a family of 5 boys, being the shortest meant I had to be the strongest. Anyone that hits the gym knows what a shaker bottle is all about, and I was no exception. I had cabinets full of them. They were all exactly the same. A cheap, plastic, uninsulated bottle that would either leak, break, or smell awful after a couple months. So I fixed all these problems. Introducing the Ice Shaker. The Ice Shaker is a double-wall, vacuum-insulated shaker bottle that will hold ice for over 30 hours in a 75-degree room. The insulated bottle does not sweat. And here's my favorite part. The Ice Shaker is a kitchen-grade stainless steel, so it doesn't absorb odor.
Yeah, man, it was, to me, it was the best opportunity to grow the fastest and get a great proof of concept as well. And that's exactly what it did. To get offers from all 5 sharks was huge for a company that was 6 months in. To take anything from ground up is extremely hard. I don't think people realize that it doesn't matter who you are, your name, or anything like that. I mean, unless you're a huge, massive celebrity, people aren't just going to buy it just because you tell them to. Yeah, at least not me. I would not call myself a celebrity, and I didn't have any influence, and it was tough. So I went on there to really get that proof of concept, and then also to get the exposure. You're going to reach 5 million people in one night, and then you're going to get replays, reruns for years to come as well. So, and lastly, at the end of the day, I wanted expert advice as well. I had my wife's company and that was doing well, but completely different. I mean, it organically grew. We grew on a platform that we really relied on with Etsy. So I never really had to go out there and figure out shows and partnerships and really scale it to the next level. So I wanted the advice of, someone that could help me.
So that's what you were hoping to gain from being on the show. Do you think that you did gain those things that you were looking for? Did you get what you were looking for by being on the show?
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely got the proof of concept. Definitely got the awareness out there. Also, the money that came in on it was huge. I put a lot of my own money into it, and to get some back was huge to help us fund more products. I had one bottle, one color at the time, and I was able to quickly bring in a lot more product with all the money that came in from the show, but also that came in from the investment.
Based on the show, those guys and gals actually use their own money, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You had offers from all of the sharks, but you went with a combination of Mark Cuban and a guest judge at the time, Alexander Rodriguez, A-Rod, right?
Yep.
And then A-Rod stuck around for a while, and then he recently got bought out by some guy who, I don't know, he wins Super Bowls or something. What's his name? Your brother. Why did your brother want to get in on this?
Yeah, he was retiring at the time, and he definitely helped me get the company off the ground. And, he just wanted to be a part of the business world. He's all about health and fitness, and it was a perfect fit for him as well. So he reached out to Alex and asked him, to buy him out. So
he did? Why didn't he just ask you if he could buy additional, why buy out somebody when he could just buy some of your part?
Oh, because, man, I was like, if you want it, man, I'm not giving up anymore. So, you got to convince someone else to get it. So, for me and how I saw it, once I gave up the 15%, I'm the one still doing all the work and in the grind, and I didn't want to give up any more of the business.
Gotcha. Is Cuban still involved?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Real quick, what is Stadium Blitz?
It was a new concept that we were doing. It's been, completely shut down because of COVID. It's been frustrating, but we had an idea, and it also revolved around Rob being retired, but it was a great way for all of us to get back together and compete in a stadium, in an obstacle course race. So we started that up when he retired, and then between the retirement or the unretirement and COVID, we've been shut down after, our first 5 races.
Gotcha. So the concept is you guys travel to different college stadiums and then challenge other groups of people or solo people in some sort of an obstacle course?
Yep. So 15 obstacles inside of a stadium, and it was a 5K. You could put together teams, you could compete against us, or you could just do individual as well. It was college and NFL stadiums as well.
Sweet. Now, I know that you went to the Super Bowl parade down in Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah, I missed the parade.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
I got 3 kids at home, man.
That's a good reason. Well, okay. Well, let me ask you this. You know your brother fairly well, right? Some might say really well. Apparently, Tom threw the trophy to Rob, and the trophy just barely made it. Let's just put it that way. There is some speculation about if that trophy would have gone into the water, how fast would your brother have dove into the water to grab that trophy?
So, man, I was hearing reports that it floats, so I'm not sure. But, I think more than just him would have been diving in that water. I think everyone on that boat would have been jumping in. But
nice.
You should try it, man. That would have been epic if it fell in.
That would have been crazy.
The diving team and everything trying to find the trophy.
Well, I did hear that the water was only 16 feet in that particular area, so I'm pretty sure they could have found that bright, shiny, giant-ass trophy.
That would have been great, though.
That's hilarious. I do real quick, as we're heading out here, I know I've kept you for a whole hour, and thank you again for your time. I would encourage everyone to go check out Chris's podcast. It's called Gronk'd Up. GRONK''DUP.
This podcast focused around business, motivation, sports, and of course, hard work. The show will be hosted by myself, Chris Gronkowski, and my co-host and chief marketing officer, whom you'll meet on episode 1. This podcast will take you through all the aspects of being successful in sports, business, and life, and of course will include some interesting Gronk'd Up stories of growing up in a family of 5 boys. Please start by listening to episode 1, where you'll have the chance to really get to know me and my journey through sports, fitness, and business. This is a free podcast, and the goal is to bring you value in business, fitness, and to help you be a more successful person by taking you through the lessons I learned from the NFL, business, the Shark Tank experience, and by also bringing on successful guests who can share their knowledge as well. Please make sure to follow me on social media at Chris Gronkowski, where I will be asking questions and answering them on future podcasts. I look forward to going on this journey with you and hope you gain some valuable information to help you be more successful in life. So let's get Gronk'd Up.
I don't know if everybody listening does what I do, but when I find a podcast I like, I go all the way back to the beginning and start from the very beginning. And I will say that the first 4 episodes of Gronk'd podcast are 4 of the most fascinating episodes of any podcast I've ever heard.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome. It tells the story of basically you and Basically, it tells the story of this episode of my show. It's you, how you got from where you were to where you are, and all the obstacles that were in your way. I highly recommend it. There's a really, really good tips for business owners and startups and people who just have an engine and a motor and want to get shit done. So it's a really good show, and I highly recommend it.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Chris, where can people find you on social media?
Man, anywhere, pretty much any platform, but just at my name, at Chris Gronkowski. Big on Instagram, on Twitter, TikTok. I do it all. So, yeah, definitely check me out. Check out Ice Shaker at Ice Shaker, or iceshaker.com as well. That's the business. I'm everywhere. I'm easy to find.
Now, what if I wanted an ice shaker with a divider in it so I could keep my fish separate?
Oh, man. We'll have to work on that one. That's first time request right there.
Well, I do know that you take requests into consideration. You don't necessarily fulfill all of them, but you do take them into consideration.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if people keep requesting that, I'll be making
it. You heard that, Streetwalkers. Tweet at this dude and get him to do that.
Oh,
that's ridiculous. All right, Chris, before I let you go, is there anything we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you about that you wanted to talk about today?
Man, no, I like it. I appreciate everything. Thanks so much for having me on today.
It was absolutely my pleasure. It was 100% fun. I was so looking forward to talking to you. Like I said, listening to your show and checking out your Instagram stories. You're a goofy bastard, by the way, on your Instagram. It was just, I was looking forward to it so much because you seem like a really, really fun and genuine dude. So thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks again.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Gronkowski, thank you so much, man. You have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey, Streetwalkers, it's time for a giveaway. Thanks to our generous friends at Sylvania, we're going to give away some Bluetooth speakers. What do you think? These are fairly special and limited Fascination Street podcast edition, as they have a little Fascination Street emblem on the end. This oblong Bluetooth speaker is about 8 inches tall and about 3 inches in diameter, and is IPX4 waterproof. So how do you win? Well, what I need all of you to do is post a short video to your Instagram story, your Facebook story, or even your TikTok, telling everybody why you love Fascination Street Podcast and which is your favorite episode. Make sure to tag the show in these videos, and each week I'll pick one winner to win one of these special limited edition Sylvania Bluetooth speakers, and I'll mail it to you. And I might even throw a couple of other Fascination Street pod swag in there as well. So tell a friend, tell all your friends, and include it in your stories on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. And don't forget to tag the show, Fascination Street Podcast. Opening music is the song Magnolia from the 2014 album Intransigence, used with permission from Douglas Miles Clark. Closing music is Apollo from the 2001 album Into the Known by the band Sapphire. Thanks for hanging out with us and getting to know a little bit about our guest. We'll see you next time on Fascination Street.